late, they can catch up. So we'll go ahead and we'll start that recording. We might have some people that join in process. Logan, if I can ask you to keep an eye on anyone who pops into the meeting room and making sure to let them in. So welcome back to this Training Tuesday session. Today's session, I did not update my title slide. Today's session is about creating custom templates in Korbyt and the templated workflows that are available as you work in the system. We're primarily going to be looking at the predefined templates and the predefined web submission flow, but a lot of what we talk about today also does apply a little bit into Launchpads. The things you create can be used for both. So that is our topic today. Coming up on the calendar right now, we have scheduled player metadata for our next Training Tuesday in a couple weeks. After that, interactivity in layout design. So creating buttons and elements that show and hide and being able to click and move through designs. So those are our scheduled topics. Just a reminder that we do have our new knowledge base system, product.korbyt.com, which has our knowledge base documents and beyond. So a lot of what we cover today in terms of predefined template work and using templates and designs in that way is also covered in our knowledge base. So without further ado, we'll dive into our topic, templates. And as I mentioned, we're going to start actually with the workflow side of this. So it's making sure everyone's aware of a system that's built into Korbyt. And that system is predefined web submission templates. So this gives you the ability to create designs that someone fills in without having to be a user of your Korbyt system at all. So this is open simply because I went to the web address for it. I did not have to log in or authenticate to this site as a user. It's a unique URL through my training Korbyt system. Yours would be unique. You can take this template and actually embed it into other sites with embed code. So if you wanted to embed it inside of an internal website, you could, giving people a series of choices or logins to get them to this template. But the end result, kind of starting there, what you can build in Korbyt is a form that is tied to a design. These fields are customizable. They're the standard ones that are the starting point for a system, but you have the ability to customize these. I am going to fill in mine just using the details that Chrome knows about me, putting the word comment. Defaulted in the system as well are validity dates. So users who are putting a new message into the system can say when it should start playing and when it should stop playing. They're on by default. They can be turned off for the system. I then have my template. Now I can preview what the template looks like before I've made any changes. So here is my template before I've actually typed anything in. And you can see the background image, the little color filter that's over the top of it. I have a logo and some text and a ticker. And those fields I have customized and decided which parts of the design the user at the end of this website can actually change. So I can fill in the text of my event description. So I could give like the description for what we're doing these days. So training sessions open to all on a series of CMS topics. Event name, this is Training Tuesday. Got a little section for above the title. I can type in like join us. This template is designed so users can pick a background image. They can upload their own picture if they want to as an external user. So I could grab a different image I want for my background. There is a logo file that I've decided to make customized. But the way I've configured it is it gives the user the choice of different logos I've imported into the system already. So this would be not Korbyt logos in your case, they would be logos for your organization. So they can maybe have a choice of a light logo and a dark logo, but they can't just go picking any file willy-nilly. I also have tied my kind of color filter overlay to that same type of design. So I can pick a different image to put into that image container that's somewhat transparent. And then I can add to my ticker, come learn something, exclamation point. And then I can preview how this will all look. As an end user, I can then submit my design into the Korbyt tenant. So this is the workflow that we're talking about. This is the workflow we're giving you the tools to create. That is, again, open to people in your organization that you just let have access to this code. They do not have to be a added registered Korbyt CMS user. So when they hit submit here, what happens next obviously is of interest. And what happens by the system defaults, again, lots of things are customizable, is when someone hits submit in that way, I have a new layout design here that just got created in the Korbyt system. It is in draft status. There's ways to trigger alerts as well in your system. So if there's someone that should be monitoring these submissions, giving them their approval, they can be emailed by Korbyt saying, hey, a new submission just came in, and it shares the details of what the person filled out. But what gets submitted doesn't get seen by anyone out on the screens until an approver goes to the design, verifies that it looks the way they'd like something to look on their screens, and hits publish. What happens next in the system, again, is decided by you and the way that you'd like to build the system to work. You may have noticed my design when it came in had a tag attached to it. You can attach custom tags to these designs that, once published, send them out to the right screens based on those clever playlists that we reviewed from our first session. So I actually went back to our playlist there. I created a clever rule already that is just looking for items with that tag, pulls them in automatically and would show them where they need to be shown. So that's the workflow that we're examining today. So you can see how that works. You can share single templates to end users through this code. You can also share with them an entire folder of templates, giving them the option to pick which template they'd actually like to fill in and fill out. So that is the templated workflow process. That's what's available for you to create for your end users who aren't even necessarily a Korbyt user. Before we look at how you actually build the design, how you build the template up as a template, are there questions that I can answer so far about just the submission process, the way these websites, the way this code works? Not seeing anyone chat in or jump in for that mute switch. I mentioned that these are customizable fields. I'll show you where that gets customized in a few minutes as we go through the material. So those designs, the actual design that's driving this form, gets built as a layout, but a very specific type of layout. So if we go to our layouts page, and if your system still has the mega menu across the top rather than our new AI across the side, that is fine. We are still looking at the same layouts page, whether you go through the mega menu or the new UI menu. On the layouts screen, we need to go to this section here, predefined layouts. And unless you've already been using this system, you're only going to find 5 templates there. And those are related to our new AI Launchpad features that we are building into the system. So these are not necessarily your unique templates. Those are part of the AI system. And you're able to add your own designs here. You would add a new predefined layout. So I'm going to briefly show you that process. It uses our builder tool. So if you're familiar with building layouts, the fundamentals are going to very much be the same. I need to give it a name. I'm going to call this Training Tuesday Example. I'm going to give it a unique tag. I'm going to call it example. Oops, that's what happens when I mistype. Example 1. Get rid of the bad one there. There is a category option. The category is for Launchpads. That is where the category will come in. It doesn't come in with that external publishing flow. So if you want your design to not only be available through this form, but you'd like it to also be available as a Launchpad template in Korbyt, you can check that box as well. This other checkbox also has to do with the Launchpad functionality. The way Launchpads work is they can either create a new playlist when they get used, or they cannot. This checkbox makes it so new Launchpads create a new playlist. I would rather things automate with my own existing clever playlists, so I'm going to turn that option off. And now I can hit create. And I'm in the builder tool. If you're familiar with the builder tool, this is working the same way. I have elements that I can then add to my canvas. So if I have a background image I want to use, I just drag the image element onto the canvas. I can then go through the system and find, the background image that I'd like to use in this case. I'm actually going to go all the way back to just kind of my standard purple background color. Now, if I don't want anyone to change this as part of the template, I don't really have to do anything more to it besides maybe, fill the screen with it so it actually works as a background. But I don't have to do any customization to say, don't let this be edited. I actually have to configure each piece that should be edited as part of the template. So I'm going to leave the background as is. I'm also going to add another image. Which page my logos end up on. I'm going to add the Korbyt logo, and I don't want that to be edited either. So that's going to be fixed. I'd like to add an area where people can add their own image to the design. So I'm going to add an image element. You can pick a placeholder. This can be helpful so that you can see how the images react in the space. It can be especially helpful if you have the type of image you expect people to submit. So if you kind of have a standard shape and size, get one of those examples. Like if you know that this is for peer-to-peer recognition and people are going to be using the Microsoft Teams headshots. So like they're going to be saving them out of there as a shared file, and you kind of know the shape it's going to take. If you get one of those, it can be your placeholder as you build up your image container, your image element. So I would like this container to be templated. I'd like people to be able to change what's in it. So I go to the images, the elements settings, the gear icon there. I go to its properties. Let me move my control panel out of the way. Let me zoom in a little bit. And if the element accepts being part of a template, it will have an attribute tab. If I go to that attribute tab, this is where I can give the field a name. Every piece that you make templated needs to have a name first. Like it won't let you click the template until it has a name. The name that you enter here is the name that will show up here as people fill in the template. So you want to make sure it's kind of clear. If someone was reading through these names, they'd know which one they were looking for. I'm going to call this main image. I am going to make it templated. And then I have choices to make. Do I want people to be able to pick from the media library? This is how, in my other template example, when people click like the logo, they can only pick a logo that I'm letting them. And that is because I have said, yes, I would like to link it to the media library. And then I pick a specific folder in my media library that gives them their options. If you do not give it a specific folder, it will not allow any media items through the website, the predefined website portal, but it will give media manager rights through the Launchpad system if you use it through the Launchpad inside of Korbyt. File upload, you check that if you'd like the user to also be able to take any item off their computer and import it. So if you actually expect that users are going to be adding their own images from outside of Korbyt, you'd want to select file upload. You can add provisions and restrictions to this, but now I've created a space that people can fill in. I can customize the way it should act. This is a placeholder, so I can do things like change the sizing of the image or the offset of the image that will apply to the thing that gets imported and added as well. I've just centered the image with a 50-50 offset. So now whatever image somebody puts into this container, it will center it into the space. It'll crop off any edges that don't fit, but it won't distort the image. And then I could continue to add other fields that I want people to use as a template. I can add text fields that I then go in and tell it I want it to be an attribute, like name, templated. I can set a max length. When it comes to text fields, you will want to tell it it is a template before you do any formatting, because there are fewer format options for a templated text container versus a non-templated text container. I can, name of event goes here, and then I can apply my formatting, which will hold as people use the template. So they won't be able to change these options. I am locking it in place. Again, very quickly, just adding a few fields to the template. I can then publish my design if I'm ready to share it and have people use it. And then if I would like people to actually access it, how do I get this web address or the folder structure? Well, that comes from in here in the Korbyt CMS. I am on the predefined layouts page where I just built my new design. If I want to share an individual design, I can use this icon for the design itself. I can hit share predefined layout. It shows me the actual just website URL link or my iframe embed code that I could use to in another website to put my template, to put this into that site. Like most areas of Korbyt, there is a folder view that you can turn on, and you can add and manage subfolders here. So if you created an example into the root folder, you can put them into a specific folder. And then here, if you look at the folder options on the predefined layouts page, there's a unique icon to these predefined layouts. Again, that's that share icon. When I open it for a folder, it gives me the link or the embed code for the folder. So the end user will have the selection of those. If I reload my design, you can see I now have 3 options because I've just created a new template inside of that folder. And this page represents a share to the whole folder. If they're in a folder, you also have the ability to set a maximum content age in days. How long can people put the content into the system for? And who should get notified when items get submitted? So this is where if I had a Northeast region and a Southeast region and different users who should be approving the different templates, I'd have a Northeast template and a Southeast template, and a Northeast folder and a Southeast folder. And then if I'm configuring the Northeast folder, I could decide who gets the alerts that tell them this new item has been submitted in. Pick a couple of random users there and hit OK. So now, if any of these forms get used, those 2 users will get an email that says someone has submitted into Korbyt a new design. It'll give them the name of the person, the comments that were entered here, their contact information, and a link to open up the Korbyt CMS and then approve that design that came in. I mentioned that there's options for how this system works for you, how it looks. Those are available in the content management system. If you go into settings, the gear icon at the top, or the settings option in the new UI, there is a tab specifically for predefined layouts. And this is where you can actually set more of a, if you don't want to do a folder by folder notification contact for submission content, you can actually pick a person for your entire system that gets that announcement. You can customize the fields that are part of your system. I'm not seeing all of it on mine easily because I'm zoomed way in. So I start to lose some of the details there, but you can customize your fields. If you are handy with CSS code, you can actually go through and adjust the CSS code for this website. So changing things like the colors, the branding, the background. And an option that is here that I will say is not often turned on. We do have some users that like it, and that is the auto publish. So what that does, if you turn that option on and hit save, when people submit through the form, it no longer requires an approval. it goes straight to being a published layout, not a draft layout. Not a very popular option, but it is an option available to you. The last thing I want to share before we'll dive fully into Q&A is I mentioned that these designs, the designs that you build as a predefined layout, so again, in the layout section, and then predefined, you have the ability to decide, should it be a Launchpad survey, a template as well. So if you have turned that on for a design, when you go to the Launchpad section, you will have your custom designs available to you. There's my people and culture one I built earlier. The difference between the web submission and the Launchpad submission. A Launchpad, for me to be able to use this, I have to be a registered user of Korbyt. I have to be able to log in. You can see that editing in the Launchpad system is a little bit more visual. I can actually see it as it's coming together. It lets people pick from existing items just wherever in the media manager. They don't have to be in a specific folder if I don't want it to be. I could limit it to a folder for these users, just like I did the external users, but it doesn't have to be. And when I publish a Launchpad, we'll call this Training Tuesday Launchpad, I can add my validity dates. But when I publish this through the Launchpad system, because I'm a registered user of Korbyt, because it's a Launchpad that's available to me, it does not become a draft layout. It becomes a published layout. So that's the difference between the two workflows. This external path, it goes in as a draft layout. Through the Launchpad system, it goes straight to being published. What does published mean? Well, that will depend on the way you decide to architect your system. If you have added tags to the template that are then tied to a Clever playlist, it would mean that those published designs automatically flow to their appropriate screen. My third example design. So you can see if I had that as an existing rule in my playlist, it would be pulling those in automatically. Without those existing rules, it has simply made a published layout in Korbyt. My ability to get it onto the screen will depend on my role in Korbyt. Am I someone who can create a new rule or go in and manually manage a playlist? Content approver or higher. So it can just be a way to generate content. It can also be a way to automate that content out to a screen when combined with Clever playlists. So those are the things I wanted to show today. I kind of had on the agenda to show. Let me ask, what questions do you have? Judy, I know you joined us a little bit in process. We are recording. We'll share it out after. You'll be able to find it on our knowledge base page for the Training Tuesday. But what questions does everybody have today on templates and the predefined web submission process? Thumbs up from Polly. Thank you for that. Dan, I know you are on through the phone, which might give you a hard time unmuting on the phone. So if you're typing something in, if you want to, if it's a long question, if you want to type in, yep, you still have the chat. Good. Okay. Just want to make sure you weren't like in the middle of typing something if I kind of move forward. And again, Judy, welcome. Hopefully you're able to hear us. If I'll say this, if no questions about the templates, the predefined templates, maybe it's a question about Launchpads, maybe it's just a question in general you were hoping we'd have time to take a look at today. What questions can I answer for you today? What can I help you with when it comes to the Korbyt content management system? Okay. If if no questions, I hope everything was clear and you're not just suffering in silence. I know it's a lot to kind of take in. Uh, on our product page, product.korbyt.com, and then in the help section, our knowledge base, if you search templates, I don't necessarily want the AI results at the moment. There are instructions and guides really just around templating options. So there's just an overarching guide to the predefined layout templates, how to build them, what works in templates. There is a whole guide to building them as launchpads, building them as web submission, and just the formal web submission process. Okay, Judy, good question in there. Let me ask, what is it that you find challenging about creating the template? Is it a specific element that you're trying to template or just the process in general? Because I think you joined us in process a little bit. I think I had already started building a template when you joined. So maybe it's some of the earlier steps that I can touch on again.
Yes, of course. I was late and I do apologize, but when I do go in there and try to build a template, it just doesn't work. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
So I'm going to take a guess, and I can be wrong when I guess. Please let me know if I am wrong. So um, the first step, and I think the step you missed, and it's honestly the most important step, is when you want to build a design to work as a template through the Launchpad or through this web submission form. You start by going to the layouts page, but then you need to go a page deeper to this section here. If you hover it over it, it says predefined layouts. So when you go to this section, you're going to see a lot fewer designs because this is where the actual templates live. They're not a discrete piece of content. Like I can't schedule employee peer-to-peer recognition to a screen. It's not actually a layout. It exists only as a predefined layout. It exists only as a template. So I don't know if that's the
Okay.
step that's been in kind of tripping you up.
No, I've been there. I
Okay.
think
And then
what I'm looking for is when we put up our seminars, we have several every week. I guess I need a template that I can change out for each talk. Um,
well, so
and then
templates here and
yeah.
kind of the way we think about templates, and it might be just a mismatch of terms. So when we're talking about templates in Korbyt, you could think of it like a cookie cutter. So when we say we're building a template, we are building something that allows someone else to build a new piece of content, like again and again and again and again, so that like I have a new seminar, you could build the template for like seminar event. It doesn't have any details for any actual seminar, but it has all of the spaces that you would want someone to fill in for a new seminar. So you build the design and it can look like the upcoming event, name of event, description of event. So you build your layout with these pieces. And then if I want it to be templated, let me turn off my backgrounds and other pieces here so you can see my one element that I'm working on a little better. So my one element here, my above the title text, like every element, it's got a gear icon. And if I go to its properties, it has an attributes tab. And this is where I can tell the system this text box is templated. Meaning when someone is using the template, they can change the text here. Like if I don't
Okay.
want them to change like the logos, I would make sure it's not templated. So now that logo is now fixed. I've just made a change to my template. And then when I publish this, I'm making the template available. And I could give either this web address to the people that are going to be submitting the template information, or I can use this embed code to like build a website around it. But I would just say, oh, you have new events coming in. This is the website you go to fill in that event information, to submit it to us for signage. So your organization, your name, and again, these fields are customizable. I think you saw me kind of showing that. You might not have known what
Yes.
fields I meant, but these are the fields. And then
Yes.
when's your event? Well, it's next Tuesday and it ends, it runs next Tuesday, the 21st from midnight to midnight. And then I can fill in my info. So event information, cool event where we will learn. Helps if I type stuff better. We'll learn and have event name, training, above the title, something like join us or some other kind of statement. My background right now is still templated because I had that as part of my template when we started, but I took some other things off. What do I want my ticker to say? A great event to increase your knowledge.
Sure.
So then I can preview my design, and here's what I've now built, and I can submit it in. Well, I got playtime info that got to make sure is square. Go another day. Submit. So when that person who's saying, hey, I have an event coming, I need to give you the details. Yep, here's the link, go ahead and submit it. And now they have created the layout for you without having to actually go into the layout builder. And it comes into Korbyt as a draft design.
Okay, and then from there I post it on the screens.
Yep. Yeah, you would publish it and post it on the screens, or potentially, if these are coming in, like you have one template for a specific screen or a specific place, you can add a tag to that template that is already tied to a playlist. So all you'd have to do is make sure, like, yep, this looks the way I want it to look. Did they put the validity dates correct? I go to the gear on the design. Yep, the validity dates look good. I can hit publish. And now I don't have to do anything else if my playlist is already looking for items with that tag. So people submit their events, and because of validity dates, it'll show for the event times they want and come off the screen when their event's done. So you don't even necessarily have to go in to remove it. The only thing you'd have to actually really do is if they said, oh, we canceled that event, it's not going to happen. Through this website, they don't have a way to like take it back. They'd have to like email you. You'd go, oh, okay, well, I found your information for that event, and I'm just going to remove it from the system. Like through this website, they don't have a path to get deeper into Korbyt because they're not even a Korbyt user using this. This could be shared with like outside vendors. Like they don't even have to be part of your organization if you don't want to, if you don't need them to be.
Okay, this could work really well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest trick is like you got the first step, which is good, the going into the predefined section. And then when you create a new predefined layout, gotta give it a name,
Yeah.
and you add something to the design. So I have an image that I want to add. It's the, is this an image that should always be there? Or am I putting an example placeholder that they should be able to change? So, do I want it to always be a specific image? Or do I want to go into the properties and say, you can add your own background? Background is templated, and I'll let you upload your own files. Or maybe you have a selection of backgrounds, like a dark background design, a light background design, some other background designs, and you've taken them. They're all just background images. You've imported them into Korbyt, and you've put them in a specific folder. And now I'm saying when someone uses the template, they will pick from the media library folder I just selected. Like you can change the background, but only to the ones I make available to you. This can be even simpler, Judy, honestly, because one of the ways that people usually give submissions, and you might be used to working, it might be more of a, yeah, I built the announcement. I built it in PowerPoint using our PowerPoint templates. Here's the PowerPoint. Can you post it for me? If that's the case, if they're not actually like filling out a form, if they already kind of have a template, it can simply be one image container that is this template. And you have like an example image you kind of put in there. I don't have any announcements right now, but I'll throw, whoop. Or honestly, you can leave it blank. I say, okay, here's your, announcement. You're going to upload it from your computer. It's templated and it's full screen. So like they've built something already outside of Korbyt and they just need to give us the image. They're not going to be filling out all the text. I'm just giving them a space to upload that one image. It's kind of a boring template, but it works well in that situation. So I didn't have to do a lot of work. They just pick one image. So if they're working in something like PowerPoint, yep, I built my announcement. Instead of sending you their PowerPoint file, they just do save a copy as an image file, like a JPEG or a PNG. Let's save this to desktop so I can find it easier. Just this one slide's fine. Please and thank you. Oh, didn't mean to hit preview. I want a file upload from my desktop. There's my slide. Like that's all I need to grab then. I still need to, fill out some information about who I am and the validity dates for the final design. And this event happens, for a couple days the next week, and I submit. So what the user is then submitting is what they think of as a final design. Like if they already have a creative template they're using, you don't have to take that away from them and reinvent it in Korbyt unless you want to, unless you like the idea of like them having selectable backgrounds or selectable logos that you enforce. But if that's not appealing, you can just give them a space to one image space to upload their final image that is their announcement. I'd have to do a better job scaling my image space. I didn't tell it to scale up. And then you just publish it. They submit the final image and you just publish it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, we try. Are there questions?
Yeah.
Polly, Dan, Judy, what other questions can I answer for you today? Or scenarios to talk through like that? If no other questions, I'll give you back a few minutes on your Tuesday, maybe give you a break between calls if you got a lot of them today. And thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your involvement and your focus. Again, 2 weeks from now, we'll have our next session. The topic is going to be player metadata. So we've talked about automating playlists and clever playlists. Playlists can make decisions. Well, they can only really effectively make decisions for players if the player knows information about itself, like its address, its location, and you can customize that in a lot of ways, like orientation of the screen, the resolution of the screen, what language is the people viewing this screen, so it can make choices on, do we show English tagged content or French tagged content if you're a multilingual organization. So we're going to get into how to set all that, how to verify all that, and it'll loop back around to clever playlists again by the end of that session. So please join us in a couple weeks for that topic if it is of interest. And again, I think I've vamped long enough that if there were questions brewing, we'd see them pop up into the chat. Thank you again. Thank you again for a great day, and we'll see you in the next training class.